My mom gave me that gun.
This preview is brought to you by Netflix. So I recently had a chance to sit down and play the beginning of Murdered Soul Suspect. I would say maybe the first hour and a half. In fact, if you go look at our E3 demo, it was pretty much that chunk of game. A little bit more at the beginning and a little bit more at the end of it, at the beginning of the game. It's kind of a detective game. At the very least, this game is not like other games out there. And on that note, it's already a very sort of compelling thing to just sit down and play. It's just tonally very distinct from a lot of the more action fare that I've got my hands on recently. You play a little bit too on the nose, I think. You play a detective named Ronan. He was once a criminal who then became a detective. I think the implication is that he's a much better detective because of his criminal background. They didn't go into anything that was too explicit. You just kind of infer it. And he dies at the beginning. A serial killer, who probably is a serial killer. He's got a hood. There is a serial killer afoot, pushes him out a window, he lands on the ground, he then comes over and shoots him 7 times in the chest. So you don't really play the detective alive, you play his ghost who's trying to solve his own murder mystery. What kind of then transpires from that are 2 different forms of gameplay. The core and the more interesting one is detective gameplay. Not all that different, say, like L.A. Noire. You're going around, you're collecting clues. What the spectral aspect of the game allows is, no one knows you're there. You're a ghost. So kind of like Blythe's Spirit, never thought I would quote that play in the course of one of these videos. You're trying to influence other people around you. You can kind of go into someone else's body, you can read their mind, you can get in their head and say, as it happened in the beginning of the game, if someone is being interviewed by the police, you kind of get them to say the thing that will help direct the cops in the right direction. It's a very interesting gameplay device. It was the beginning of the game, so I don't know how sophisticated that's going to go, but it does offer some interesting puzzle structure and ways of trying to approach the problem. As with also something like L.A. Noire, you don't have to get all the different clues that are laid around. In fact, it was actually quite challenging to try to find every single clue that was littered about. Once you get enough, you can start to try to deduce what's going to happen. From what I could tell, you can't, as you could in L.A. Noire, go in the wrong direction. The game will kind of wait for you to finally figure out what was the right conclusion, and then you move on to the next section of game. It's interesting. I love detective stories. I love Sherlock Holmes, I love reading Dashiell Hammett, I love reading Raymond Chandler. It's something that I wanted to see a lot in video games. Obviously, L.A. Noire got really close in terms of tone with all of that, but this really highlighted what is so challenging about doing what seems to be so obvious, which is a detective game. When you read Sherlock Holmes, when you're in the mind of Sam Spade, you're kind of alongside someone that has preternatural skill, who's a professional. In the case of a game, you become that detective, but you're just as dumb as you actually are, and you don't get that sense of pure deduction, that sense that you can really kind of affect the world around you. It has to become more of a puzzle game for the game to actually work and for you to proceed. And in that, it feels a little bit less of the promise that the concept detective game would actually bring. And then there's the spectral side. It's neat that you're investigating yourself in the way that you can influence, but unfortunately, you're playing a ghost. And because of the limitations of the technology, what you start to see is a little bit of a strained narrative. That's at least what I caught at the beginning. You can't enter houses unless the door is open because you're in Salem, Massachusetts, and because of the witch trials, there's some type of, I think, blessing that's on the houses that prevents you as a ghost from entering unless the door is open. I believe the real cause is they just can't stream it in. You see some other examples of this. There's demons that you need to avoid, and you avoid those demons by moving from certain types of souls that are in the building. It just kind of raises questions that you just have to kind of put by the wayside if you're going to be, at least for me, I had to put them by the wayside, and I found the game quite enjoyable. There is a stealth aspect to avoiding the demons. You have to sneak up behind them. It really is a very separate type of gameplay from the investigation, and I'm hoping that you start to see the 2 things blend deeper in the game, because they really felt like 2 very siloed aspects of the game. There's a nice creepy atmosphere, and like I said, the pacing is kind of at your own pace as you investigate and you find some side quests. There's definitely some kinks that need to be worked out. I don't know really how to feel about it unless I can get hours upon hours upon hours into the game, but like I said, it's something different. And right now, at the beginning of a new generation, we're gonna see maybe some experiments here and there, but something that doesn't yell at me is a very, very welcome thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from Murdered Soul Suspect. It is probably coming out sometime this year, but as far as we know, that's all we know. All right, with that, let's thank Netflix for making this Impressions piece possible. With Netflix, you can stream TV episodes and movies directly to your home, saving you time, money, and hassle. It's also the only place to watch exclusive shows like the awesome second season of House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. Best of all, you can get a free trial membership and support Rev3 Games by signing up at netflix.com/Rev3Games.